reflect the views of Urban One and its management. And now, to address the legal concerns of the community, Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM presents Legally Speaking. Here are today's hosts.
Good morning, everyone. This is Nathaniel Lee. Thank you for joining our show each week, and also thank you for supporting us. This is a live call-in show, and you could talk to our guests, our superstar panel, and don't forget that we have a couple numbers you can call in, but call in this number at 833-653-3529, 833-653-3529, or you can always go to the website and the number is listed. Today we have our superstar panel with attorney Milton Grimes. I had the pleasure to watch him in action at a seminar recently in Vegas. He's a serious trial master. It was an enjoyable experience. Also, our general attorney Vanita Banks, she put together these butt-kicking seminars and trained trial lawyers all over the country. She's doing a phenomenal job. Just proud to have her active in the trial process. Also, we're trying to get some additional guests on. We had Dean Frida Robinson, and she's having some difficulty logging on, and potentially Jamie Harrison, who hasn't logged on yet. But today, my guest, we had a legal bomb hit. We had a historical event occurred. We had the sitting president of the United States, President Joe Biden, who has done the most outstanding job of any president during our generation. He generated a record number of jobs. African-American unemployment the lowest has been since I've been alive. He had an infrastructure bill that put $1.2 trillion, and everywhere you go in the country, there's roads and bridges being built. And it goes on and on. We had COVID that he came up with a plan to help cure America. So it goes on, the accomplishments he's done. But he got really bad poll numbers. It was just shameful. I thought a lot of the political leaders just kind of abandoned him, and his poll numbers just kind of tanked. But we had a political bomb, and introducing new candidate, I guess is more fitting to start out with the sorority sister, also superstar attorney Vanita Banks. You're a soror now. It's going to be the candidate. Is that right?
Good morning, Attorney Lee and Grimes and listening audience. Absolutely. I was one of the 44,000 Black women that participated in a call on last Sunday evening, Win with Black Women. That's an organization that has been in existence for about 4 years. And we're regularly on calls every Sunday evening, if you can believe that. And so, but this call last Sunday, after President Biden announced that he would not be seeking re-election, was almost literally broke Zoom, right? And so I'm so excited about, yes, my Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority sister, Kamala Harris. And I can tell you that prior to that announcement last Sunday by President Biden, I think many of us across America were anxious. We're feeling anxiety, right? And a lot of it. And once he made his announcement, I felt sad and continued to feel anxious at that moment. And then on the heels of his announcement, he announced his endorsement of Vice President Harris. And I can tell you, I was so filled in that moment with hope and inspiration. And his endorsement just cleared the way for Vice President Harris to step into her destiny, well prepared at this moment in time to assume the presidency of the United States. And there's no one any better qualified, from district attorney to the state attorney general to a U.S. senator, and the last 3.5 years as vice president. There's no one that is more qualified, and her announcement has quickly unified the party in such a wonderful way. We have young people and women and African-American men on Monday evening held their own call where they raised over $1 million. And let me go back and say, during our Win with Black Women call on Sunday, we raised over $1.5 million in less than 3 hours. So it's just been a very euphoric week with so many Americans unifying around this ticket.
Well, tell us the historic connection of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. What's it about? When were they formed? And what's her connection to the organization?
Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority was formed in 1908 on Howard University campus. And our legacy is friendship and service. And so Vice President Harris, became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority when she attended Howard University. And we're just so delighted that she is a member of our sorority. And we are sisters too. You may be aware of what we call the Divine Nine. I know, Nathaniel, very early on, we did some work to mobilize the Divine Nine early on with respect to President Obama's campaign. And so these are 9 African-American fraternities and sororities that have a phenomenal history of community service in our nation.
Yeah, great. Attorney Grimes, what were your reaction?
Well, excuse me. I was just listening to Vanita and being envious of her being associated with the new president of the United States. I felt almost similar to how I felt when I heard the Simi Valley verdict on Rodney King, when the 4 officers were tried. That time I felt like I was kicked in the stomach by a mule. It was so traumatic. The reverse happened Sunday. It was like a chill went through my body when he announced his withdrawal from the race and announced his endorsement of Harris. It was like, wow, this is some history here. This is, it was an emotional feeling that went through my body, to be honest with you. And I've talked to other people who felt the similar way. And it seems to be that for whatever reason, Harris has energized the young people in this country across the board, Black, whites, Latinos. I guess the fact that she has been separated from the 2 old men, to be very blunt about it, has given the young people, well, maybe my vote could count, or I got an interest in seeing this person who it's a female, she's young, she's smart. I may not agree with all of the past of her as far as Attorney General out here in California, and the lack of her taking this position with the death penalty. but I can't find anybody that I agree with fully in everything, even you, Nate. So that comes with the territory in dealing with people. I think she's a hope for our future that is very refreshing. And nothing against Biden. I didn't know I cared for him so much until he was in the dilemma that he was in about withdrawing, not withdrawing, running or not running, because I felt ambivalent when he withdrew at the moment of his withdrawal. It was like, oh, wanting to continue running, but I did not necessarily feel good when he withdrew. But what he did in endorsing her kind of removed that feeling not too long after. So it feels energizing. It feels energizing, and that's a good feeling. And I do believe. I was talking to a lady yesterday at a reception for a friend of mine who was sworn in as a judge. She's Filipino, no, from Costa Rica, and she was saying that she had a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old who had maintained they didn't have a need to vote. There was no need for them to vote, but now they're interested in voting. So I think we got hope, man. I think we got some hope.
Well, I want to advise everyone, there was an important aspect about this that most people don't think about. The Biden campaign had raised hundreds of millions of dollars. It was Biden-Harris. And so the issue is, what happened to all the money that they raised, and they had about 100 million in an account? Well, here's a legal issue. In general, funds may be transferred between authorized committees of the same candidate, and there's no limitation, so long as you're not trying to defraud candidate creditors. So all the money that was in the Biden-Harris could be legally transferred to Harris without any limitation. And so that was the logical choice. On the other hand, what if they had a third candidate in the mix? Then it's come a little bit more complicated, because in my prior experience, when Kennedy dropped out, they would have to contact me to get my permission to transfer to the new candidate. They don't have to do that in this case because it's already Biden-Harris, in my opinion. So I thought that strategically, it was the best legal move possible. But more importantly, for generational talent, we've not had a better candidate to run for president in a long time. In other words, she was a prosecutor for 20 years. She dealt with fraudsters. She started with rapists. She's dealt with people that defrauded the customers, business owners. So she's well suited for Donald Trump.
No.
And also, she became the Attorney General for the 5th largest economy in the whole world, the state of California. She was a U.S. Senator. And when she was a U.S. Senator, she asked the toughest question of anybody I've seen in a long time. She would box these people in, these judges. It was incredible. Her trial skills during the televised confirmation hearing. And so one of the things that was appalling to me, in my opinion, one of the dumbest senators in the U.S. Senate, a guy named Tommy Tuberville. At one time, I saw him on TV, he did not know the 3 branches of government. He was a football coach at Auburn University. Shameful. And this guy somehow said that she was a DEI hire. It was just insulting. So the dumbest guy I thought in U.S., or at least one of the dumbest guys, maybe not the dumbest, in my opinion, but in any event, now they're out there trying to define her as a candidate. And we could talk about that if I get Dean Robinson. Dean Robinson, are you on the line now? Oh, we lost her again? Okay. Let's go to Imhotep. Imhotep, you have a comment for us today, sir.
Yes, I do. Good morning, and thank you, Nate. Thanks, Attorney Grimes. Great people. I really appreciate y'all around here, because with all the misinformation and folks who want to get on the radio or have shows and speak like attorneys, and they're not, it's great to hear from attorneys, being a child of attorney and brother of attorneys. It's just wonderful. I thought it was monumental. I'm not a doctor, but I've worked in healthcare for almost 30 years. I've worked closely around people who may have some development or dementia issues. I think something is there with President Biden, and it was good that he went ahead and tried to go ahead and salvage things. Now, I think it's more than salvageable. I think it's just, well, I mean, you could look at Trump yesterday, begging. People just go vote, and then just in 4 years you ain't got to vote no more. So I think it's a lot of traction there. I think I'm happy for sisters. I'm going to donate. Matter of fact, Vote Blue just sent me something today. I'm going to send $25 to them. I'm going to send $25 to her campaign. Anybody listening, donate some money. You guys are spending money on Jordans and Cadillacs and Mercedes and all that. Yes. You can fork out $25. Do you understand? President Obama created a coalition and raised, and raised all kind of money with $5, $10, $25 donations, no more than 50. So you guys got it. Send a little bit in. I just left the Chicago area, Gary. I was up there for about 4 days. Vanita, I love walking around Millennium Park, Navy Pier, getting a tenor of everything going on. I'm hearing good feedback up there. I know the DNC convention is coming. They're having issues trying to decide on what they're going to do with the protesters and where they're going to be, which is a constitutional right. And there should be allowed to protest. You have to have both sides of the issue. There is issues there. But I wanted to ask.
I'm gonna tell one thing I need to make you aware of. I put a link to donate through, and that's very important. What I'm trying to do in my link, I'm trying to identify donors and also people that were willing to volunteer. So go to the link that I put on the website and
on your YouTube page.
Yeah, go donate
through
that
go
link,
in there.
because what happened is that in doing this link, we're trying to also get volunteers because they got 165,000 volunteers in 1 week. We're trying to get 1 million.
Okay,
and we're going to need them all.
I sure will.
We're going to need them all because we're going to need 80 million votes. So we get 1 million volunteers. Okay. They call 80 people. We cover 80 million votes. And so we're trying to get that done too. So make sure you go to that link and donate to that link also, okay?
And I will. I'll make sure that. And then the Attorney Grimes of Vanita, I wanted you all to comment on this. I've had spirited discussions while I was up there with a couple of younger people in my family. One just turned 30, African-American male. My sister, who works the Urban League in Northwest Indiana, and used to work with Karen Freeman, who's I think over in Chicago now, and then a few others. Not a problem with the sisters we're having. It's for some sort of reason these young brothers. I don't understand it. Now I'll point out bill after bill, mandate after mandate, the nursing home mandate, hospital mandate that the Department of Health and Human Services just did, because nursing homes and hospitals are understaffing on purpose, and they can pay, and Joseph Biden and the Health and Human Services put a mandate that now you have to increase those staffing levels. That stuff there. We already know about the venture fund. All these things that have been attacked, book bans. There's not one Democratic state, legislator, organization, or anything that have proposed any of these attacks in the courts. And then also, they don't seem to understand that most of these things, like my mother was sitting there saying, most of these things that happen are going to be argued in the courts. How can we, what are we seeing? Because I'm asking questions. I'm on social media asking questions. They can't give me answers. I asked one of my relatives, give me the policies, because he claimed me voting for Trump. I said, okay, give me some policies, what you voting for. He couldn't give me any. It seemed that they all want to just have this anger that's ill-founded, because I went to policy. Elon Musk wouldn't have what he have now if it wasn't for former President Obama implementing those new energy and electric vehicle policies and putting the money behind it. What are you guys hearing and seeing that's for some sort of reason it's 18 to 30, maybe 2-3-year-old from some, I'll be clear, some of our younger brothers, that they just don't seem to understand what's going on? Because that, I mean, I don't want to cancel them out, because we know black women vote in a larger mass than them. It'll probably cancel the 13% or 15% if Kamala doesn't get that from them, or if they get that, or if Trump gets that. But I'm just trying to figure out what is it? Because as a scientist, I'm trying to find logic and reason there. And for a man who's a 34 felon, a rapist, a fraudster, a felon, a liar, a cheater. What's the logic? And now let's to you guys. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
But I'm gonna just briefly comment on that, if I may, Nate.
Go ahead.
Okay, and it doesn't come from any authority or research or anything, but my observation. Trump presents that manhood who stands up against authority and push back and don't take smack, and always appealed to young men. I don't think it's just young Black men, but especially young Black men. He has a certain dominance attitude towards women, and it's negative. He has, he advertised the fact that he wears white tennis shoes, and that attracts Black people. He goes to the lowest denominator to show a connection or to get a connection. But he has that, and you can't deny it, he has that attraction of pushing back and fighting against the establishment, law, and authority. And I think that is attractive to a lot of young men. So that's a fact that's what I see. And again, I don't have any data to support that, but that's what I see. And with the young men, African-American men that I talk to, and they talk about Trump, they believe in Trump because he does stand up, or for whatever reason. And Obama hasn't done anything, and Biden hadn't done anything for Black people. But he's got that attraction that I think appears to a minority of minority men, but he does have that appeal, so you can't deny that. And unless we get in there and knock it down, he's going to have that appearance. Maybe Kamala Harris can overcome it. I don't know.
Meanwhile, he done everything to eradicate our rights in a pathway to success. He worked to get rid of affirmative action. He got conservative Supreme Court that you can't basically get by sue for race discrimination anymore. But we'll let Pierre Pullins, you want to respond to that, Pierre?
Real quickly, good morning, everybody. Y'all know, just to let the audience know, Nate, he's a big timer. Because I saw you hanging out with Doug Emhoff and Dr. Myers. Was that at the All-Star game you guys were at?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just going to offer up some advice to the vice president, and hopefully it'll get back to her. Trump is afraid to debate her, and that's out in the news media right now. Now she's got him on the ropes now, because she's been taunting him. She said he's afraid to debate her. She's got to chase him around and this, that, and the other. She got him on the ropes now. Now it's time for her to hammer away. And the way she does that is she taunts him. She tells him, well, Trump don't want to debate me because he's afraid. And there was a doctor out there, Vanita Lee, that said he was going to do that. He's afraid to get on the debate stage with her. So now is the time for her to politically punk Donald Trump and smack him around with, dismissive comments and things like that. And show everybody she's got the chops and she's ready to go. And this guy is running and hiding. And now it's time for her to pour it on. And, she can do it. She can do it. But she's got to start smacking him around now because he's afraid of her. You don't want to get on the debate stage. And that's all I wanted.
I think that's a smart move by him. I think that she could destroy him in a debate, personally speaking.
I agree.
Yeah, but he...
The prosecutor versus the 34 count convicted felon. I think it's a perfect matchup.
Yeah.
Didn't debate her.
That's right. She take those heels off and, stick him right in his eye. And, she can hit him now. Now's the time. I'd be so dismissive and talk about how he's afraid to debate me and everything. She's got him on the ropes now. She's got to hit him hard. Just come with the comments, and she can do it. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Pierre, there's one thing you need to know, too. This is very important. Under Trump, Black unemployment was the highest level during my lifetime. So the black folks who think that somehow he's good for them economically, they've lost their freaking mind. His judges got rid of affirmative action. Our pathway to success for many African Americans, and it wasn't that we were unqualified. It was just that we had de facto segregation in our country. So these opportunities weren't available until the late 60s and 70s, like law schools, right, medical schools. And now that pathway that is being abrogated by these judges that he appointed. And so the idea that the last caller mentioned about African Americans supporting him is absurd.
Yeah.
There's no basis for them to do that.
Here's one last thing. Project 2025. You've got to beat him over the head with the fact that, and they put out the pages, the AFL-CIO, they're going to try to do away with overtime pay and rework the overtime laws. And so that means a lot of these white boys out here that get to work all the good overtime and everything, they're not going to be able to make the payments on their truck when they lose that overtime pay. And everybody else going to lose that overtime pay if Trump gets elected. So, with that Project 25, she needs to just bash him upside the head. She needs to just go upside his head with all of that. But that is what's going to get a lot of people's attention. You're going to lose your overtime pay on your job. And thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. Wow.
Let me just say, get it clear. I would love to see the debate, but I just don't think he can hang in there with her if she have fact check and they can show that every time he opens his mouth, he gives a foundation of a lie that can be knocked down. I don't think he stands a chance with her.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, and they're backpedaling now on even agreeing to the September debate.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but I can't wait for that matchup if it occurs.
Attorney Banks, Attorney Grimes, there was something that startled me about the debate. President Biden did a poor job of articulating his vision, his accomplishments during the debate. We all agree to that. But Trump was a lot worse. The 30 statements he made was crazy, way off point, and
lies.
Crazy stuff.
Outright lies.
Yeah, outright lies, and somehow he got a pass. He even said something so ridiculous during the debate that I had to turn the TV off because quite frankly, it was upsetting. He said that everybody was in favor of getting rid of Roe versus Wade and returning back to everybody. And everybody knew it. And that was so outrageous. I mean, that abortion issue was such an explosive issue. 70% of the people in the country was in favor of Roe.
Right.
70%. And so when he said that, and he got a pass, the real issue is how does he get a pass on these outright outrageous lies? Is the news media don't hold him accountable.
Right.
Like, for example, I saw Raji was interviewing Tommy Tuberville, and he said to him, so she is a DEI high. And he said, yes. What Raji should have said back to him, are you the same senator that didn't know the three branches of government?
Right.
She was a vice president. That's called the executive branch. So in other words, so he said something, they broadcast it over and over on TV without any clarification, edification, or correction.
Right.
And so and that's part of the process that I think is wrong. The news media, they'll take these false statements and they repeat it time and time again, and 30% of people in the country believe it.
Well, I thought that the interviewer's follow-up question where he introduced the word DEI was out of order. And like you said, they continue to replay that segment. I think in some cases, the media is at fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's my position. And so I was very concerned about that particular question and then the follow-up question.
Amen. Let me get another caller. Caller, you have a comment on today's topic?
I do.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. What's your name?
This is Guy.
Okay, Guy. What's your
Yes,
question or comment?
My comment is the fact that we're in the midst of the 2024 Olympics, and
Yes.
we don't hear a lot about what's happening in France. But I was impressed by the fact that despite pouring rain, they still pulled off a tremendous opening ceremony program yesterday. And I think that it's important, particularly in this election year in the United States, the contributions that France has made to the United States in terms of liberty, equality, Statue of Liberty, those kinds of things. Joan of Arc, as a matter of fact, since it seems we're going to have a Kamala Harris running for president of the United States. I think all of those things are important. Just wondered what Attorney Banks and Attorney Grimes and you thought about that.
Well, I think the Olympics is a good platform to push, believe it or not, the symbol of African American and the leadership role and the position we have in a society, in a world. You got little Coco Gauff carrying the flag. You got LeBron carrying the flag. You got quite a bit of representation of us, of Black people, in that Olympic. So I agree with you, sir. I saw part of the opening. I didn't see, that much of it. I fell asleep on it, to be honest with you, when I got home last evening. But I think it's a good part.
I thought it was incredible to see the diversity of the American team. It was Tilford. Our team is so diverse. It shows why America is exceptional as a nation. We have all these different people from different ethnic backgrounds, economic status, and we had 594 phenomenal athletes there to win the most gold medals again. Without that diversity that the Republicans are criticizing for, we would not have an Olympic team that's worth competing.
Right.
And they missed the point of that. We have to have this diversity. That's what makes America so great. And so immigration is important, and but the immigration give us diversity give us champion, and that's why the United States has the best economy in the whole world. And one thing too, I need to clarify about this thing about Tesla and their CEO. The caller was correct. What resulted in Tesla growing so fast is that the Democrats gave tax credit for electric vehicles. Under Biden, one of the things that would have potentially hurt Tesla would have been the expansion of electric charging system. Biden was proposing putting 650,000 electrical charging units in the United States. That would allow competition from all the manufacturers, General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. Everybody will have, because these charging stations are important. Tesla had a charging system in place. Mercedes-Benz electric cars use both type, they use the Tesla charging system, and they also use general charging system. Now, the reason that's important is that Tesla, for the first time in the month of June, they did not have over 50% of electric cars sold in America. So that's critical. So the Elon Musk of the world, I think he's panicking now because now he finally got competition. I thought that he espoused a lot of racist views. He allowed that on his platform. But as a practical matter, it's economics too. When America opened up to have competition with electric vehicle, the company that's going to hurt the most is Tesla, because Tesla is not an automobile company, it's a computer company. So these companies that are making cars, they're making a better product than Tesla, quite frankly. And I know that personally. Attorney Banks. And I know that personally. Oh,
I want to go back to Project 2025. And I think during that debate between Vice President Harris and the former president, that I would have a copy of the 995-page project there, and I would point to the pages. On page such and such, it says that you will end no-fault divorce, a complete ban on abortions without exceptions, ban on contraceptives. There would be an elimination of federal agencies like the FDA and the EPA and others. Use the military to break up domestic protest, and so many other things. The elimination of the Department of Education. So if you're a career service federal government employee, your job is at risk under this Project 2025, which is really a transition plan for the Republican Party. It would end civil rights and DEI protections in government. How about ending free and discounted school lunch programs, banning African American and gender studies in all levels of education, including banning books and curriculum about slavery. We must, and I believe beginning next week on the Joy Reid show, she's going to be breaking down the elements of Project 2025. But as a community, we have to be very aware and knowledgeable about this disastrous plan.
Did I hear, Vanita, that he's proposing to grant blanket immunity for local police? Read or hear that recently? Nobody.
I'm looking at my cheat sheet list. It says defund the FBI and Homeland Security. Wow, that's tremendously dangerous.
Well, the biggest problem I saw, I mean, it was about a fifth of different things because we started during summer. I was going to cover that next week, but one of the big, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, on economics, for example, what they were proposing to do was eliminate or restrict the use of food stamp and social welfare program, such as Medicaid. And they wanted to have a two-rate individual tax system, 15 and 30%, reduce the corporate income tax. The reason that's important is they're proposing to transfer the wealth of the nation. So if you're poor, you're going to be poor. If you're rich, you're going to be richer. And so economically, African America are on the lower economic aspect. So Black folks are going to be statistically about 25% poorer under this project. And it's almost like it's racially discriminatory the way they're doing it. They want to eliminate the student debt loan forgiveness program altogether.
Right.
That benefited a lot of young folks. So young folks doesn't realize this. The Republicans saying that we want to get this thing with Biden, forgive your debts, the $1 trillion of debt that you got. It won't happen under Republicans. But
and what about seniors? They want to cut Social Security, cut Medicare, end the Affordable Care Act, raise prescription drug prices.
Well, number one, though he has not read the document, 900 pages, he hasn't read it. I don't know if he's gotten a good summary of it. But the reason I asked about the immunity is because of this cop that killed this elderly Black woman. And I understand he had been in 6 different police departments in the last year, which meant they didn't vet him, they didn't screen him, they didn't interview him damn near before they hired him, if that's true. So that kind of drew my attention to what I had heard about him granting a blanket immunity to local police and law enforcement, if that's true.
Well, I know they want to expand qualified immunity. I'll review it by next Saturday's show because we started making a summary of it. And it's a lengthy document, but I have my law clerk, we're summarizing it. I'll know probably by next Saturday when we do the show, I'll be able to talk about it. I'll send you a copy of the summary.
All right.
What we find out. But we
Sonia
started looking
Massey,
at it.
who I believe you're referencing, Attorney Grimes, was just killed in cold blood. We saw that with our own eyes
Right.
this week. And as you stated, he was this officer who has been arrested without bail and charged with first-degree murder. He had worked for 6 police or law enforcement agencies in the last 4 years. How does that happen?
Right. How does that happen? Because we're not screening them well enough. We're not putting up the qualifications that's needed to do that type of work. And we're not paying good people enough money to take on that work. And on
All
and
of
on.
those reasons, and we haven't had the courage to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which would create, among other things, a national database where information about these rogue police officers would be placed to prevent them from going to the town next door, getting a position and continuing to abuse the communities.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right.
We have
It's
another
still
call. Oh, let me grab a call. Call, you have a question or comment for us today?
Yes,
Hello,
hi,
Paul.
good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you guys for what you do. It's nice to get it out there. We have to talk about it in every state. I have just some comments, and I agree with everyone, what they said. I particularly agree with Attorney Vanita that, we have to definitely get out there the word about 2025. The only problem with it is that I think the approach should be is that we don't all tackle it together, all at once, and then try to throw it into different arenas for people to understand. There's also something in 2025 about veterans pay, about veterans. So I think what the country needs to do, what the Democratic Party needs to do, is take it piece by piece and share those in those social media groups that are veteran social media groups or all women social media group, or people, because this 2025 has it in for everybody. I don't care if you're white, black, or purple. The only people it does not have it in for are the people who are going to be cronies for Trump, who are going to be cronies for the MAGA movement. But all those MAGA supporters, they're going to get just as affected. They don't know that yet, but that's what's going to be the case. So it's going to be poor people. I love Reverend Barber when he attacks that from that front. There is a segment of this population that is not getting heard, whether you're purple, white, blue, or polka dot, and that's the poor section. And and that's who this is going to affect the most. And of course, unfortunately, we as Black people disproportionately are in that pool of people. The middle class is going to be just as affected. And once again, it's not going to be all those people at the very, very echelon, the billionaires, the Elon Musk, the Theos, and the J.D. Vances who happen to get in with these people. It's going to be everybody else. And that's a lot of people. That's probably 90-something% of the population that's going to be affected by 2025. It needs to be carved up into pieces and where people can go read the pages for themselves, dispersed in all the social media groups, all the platforms, all over the news. And I agree, again, with Attorney Vanita, the mass media, the mainstream media, is the reason why we're in this position. Do you see all the enthusiasm they're willing to portray for Vice President Harris now that she's taken over the top of the ticket? I love it. But why weren't we doing that before when Biden was the head of the ticket? The reason why they weren't doing it is because not only did they want to get rid of Biden, they wanted to get rid of Harris as well. They didn't want that ticket, period. And the best way to get rid of that ticket, they thought they were going to get rid of VP Harris. And what Biden did that was smart, and when he posted that letter, I said, well done, Biden. What he did was, I'm getting out. He waited 30 minutes later and said, but you're going to have to accept my VP or else it's going to be on and popping. And that's what he did. I said, well planned. I thought what Biden's plan was all along was to get over the finish line, just to get back in the office. And then he was going to step down and hand it over to VP Harris, because that would have been the quickest way, the cleanest way, the easiest way to get her to be president of the United States. And once she was in that role, it was going to be hard to be able to take her out of it later. That's my own viewpoint. The media got behind it. The donors got behind it. The Democrats, the insiders got behind it because they were worried about their money, and they were also worried about having her at the top of the ticket. And they got played. So well done, President Biden. And that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Wow. That was a powerful statement. Let me go back to the call again. Imhotep, yeah, additional comments.
Yeah, I just had some real quick when you talked about the Sonia Massey situation. The gentleman, I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, proud. That gentleman had a dishonorable discharge. Under federal law, because I'm a licensed gun carrier, under federal law, a dishonorable discharge does not allow you to be able to carry a weapon. So they were really, really negligent. I think the lawsuits need to go to make sure any resources he has is paid to the family, and then the hiring agency, the police department, to hire him, because this is a fact, he has a dishonorable discharge. He was put out for bad conduct from the Army. It's on his record. We all know that who've been in the military. It's easy to find it. It's a simple background that finds that out. So I think that they have recourse in suing the department too, also, because how you don't do that? How you don't pick that up? And that shows white privilege too. That's the main thing. So we don't want to hear this DI crap. You white folks listening. This dude here escaped a dishonorable discharge and was allowed to carry a weapon, which under federal law you can't. Thanks for my call.
I did see what he used as the reason for shooting her in the video I saw. Was she aggressive? Did she have a pen in her hand, or what was his reason? Anybody know?
The fact, I don't know what the reasoning is, but as we look at the video, and he didn't have his camera on, but his partner did, she's standing over in front of her sink, several yards away from him. And there was conversation about a pot of boiling water. She was obviously no threat to him.
Okay.
And so for him to shoot her in the face in cold blood, just absolutely evil.
Yeah. Okay. I was just trying to get that point clear if I missed something or not, Vanita.
That's how I saw it, Attorney Grimes. You agree? I mean,
Yeah.
she called 911. She called for help because she thought that someone may have been prowling her home. So she called for help. To call for help and to wound up being shot in cold blood, this has to stop. And it has to stop now.
Hey, what state did that shooting occur in? Which shooting? I missed that this week.
Right here in Springfield, Sangamon County, Illinois.
Oh,
and our guess was 100% accurate that dishonorable discharge would have allowed him to carry a firearm under federal law. The other part about that is that usually when you get a dishonorable discharge, you committed a felony in the military. So the felony also would prevent him from owning or possession of a weapon. We just saw them prosecute the vice president's son for drug use and getting a federal, so in other words, he should have been prosecuted and not promoted to a police officer. So the people that hired him, they should be charged also. Okay, let me get the next caller. Caller, you have a question for us? Hello?
Yes, hi. No, I was still on that same call. But as far as the Sonia Massey situation, unfortunately, this is not going to get as much airtime as George Floyd, because we're in the middle of a celebration. Everybody is celebrating VP Harris, and so the focus is not going to be on this situation. I think once this officer goes to trial for the murder of this young woman, it may come back into focus like George Floyd, and it might galvanize more voters to go to the poll as well. But in the meantime, we're celebrating. And I want to say something about the celebration that we're having right now. I'm all for women, Black people, everybody, the underprivileged, the overlooked to celebrate right now. But just as much as we're celebrating, there are white folks who are angry as hell. And I'm talking about white racist folks are angry as hell. And they're mobilizing right now. They're getting ready to take it to the polls. We have to understand what's going to be ahead of us. This is not going to be easy. It's fun. I think we should be happy as a country. We shouldn't be living in despair. But we also got to get serious about the work. And what that means is, for me, what it means is that I'm not going to be out on the picket lines because I have small children. But I will be social media platforming it all over the place. I will be reaching into the hundreds of groups that I belong in. I will be giving them truth and facts and reasons why they should go out and get their people to the polls. So that's what I can do. And so I think everybody needs to figure out what their contribution can be to save democracy, to keep freedom, and Black folks in particular, because our necks are on the line first, on the chopping block first. And so, yeah, celebrate this week. But next week, we get serious. The week after that, we get more serious. And VP Harris is doing the work. She's got 2,000 rallies already planned. This woman just got the nod 3-4 days ago, and she's already got 2,000 rallies planned. That's how we all should come at it. We should have 2,000 things that we do from now until Election Day, whatever that is. Anyway, that's my and I'm going to get off the call.
Thank you so much, caller.
You're welcome.
Wow, been a fascinating show today. We only got a couple minutes left, and I had an opportunity to look at this crazy case in Illinois where the Miss Massey was murdered by a police officer, and they charged her with murder. My only comment about that, Milton, is this: the people that hired him, they need to be fired and potentially charged with crime themselves, because they gave him the right to be a police officer who was a convicted felon. He cannot own, if he was discharged, honorable discharge, that accurate, he did not have a legal right under federal law to own or possess a gun. So how could they miss that in a background check? How is that possible?
It demonstrates their negligence, Nate, in screening and interviewing these people they're hiring. That's been the problem.
Potentially criminal negligence in this case.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there should be accountability for the people who hired him. I mean, because that's just beyond simple negligence. How can you miss the fact that a person, I mean, if you do a background check, he's in the military for 2 years. What, 2 years of his life is just erased? They don't know that the guy was in the military?
A couple of years ago, they had I think 45 officers had to be suspended because they had failed the psychological test, but hired anyway. And it was discovered that that had happened. So we got to be more scrutinizing and more, more demanding of our law enforcement to hire qualified people and not just fill the position.
Well, next week, there's going to be a lot of legal topics, I'm sure, but this bombshell. But we'll talk about this Project 25. We'll cover that next week. We could cover this police shooting. We'll have some more information. We only have a couple minutes left in the show. Any closing statement, Attorney Banks?
I would just say that over the next week, I'm very interested in who Vice President Harris will select as her running mate. I know that former AG Eric Holder is vetting the potential VP candidates. So I'm excited to hear. I understand that announcement will be made before August 7th. So I'm staying in tune for the selection process as well as that announcement.
Attorney Grimes?
I don't know if we can all put 2,000 on our things to-do list between now and the election, as that lady suggested, but I do say we should find some things we can do to contribute to the winning of this election by Vice President Harris, the winning of the presidency. And so we can step up. I think I've stepped up my donations a little bit after Sunday. So I think we all can find a little bit more to do to ensure that we win this election.
What I'm doing is that I put on my website and a link for the show a contribution, because it's not the amount you contribute, but we're trying to increase the volunteers to 1 million. So go to my link on our notice and maybe $5, but really what that does is that you automatically contacted about doing volunteer work for the campaign. We need to get 1 million volunteers to get over 80 million people to go out and vote. Last time President Biden got 81 million voters. We need to do the same type of success in terms of getting people to vote this time. Democracy is at stake. And next week, we're going to cover this Project 25. It's worse than what you think it is. It's worse than what you think it is when I started reading some of these summaries of it that we've gotten. So please join us next week. We'll be talking another exciting show about these legal issues today. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and have a blessed day. Take care.
Okay.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.